stream with that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Peopleorians, and welcome back to Phoenix Wright. I'm Lou Jack.
I'm Taylor. We're the Peopleorian. Oh, wait, you said that.
I've said that already.
And this is a Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney.
I said that too.
And for those who are just... What about second intro?
I already did the intro.
Full Metal Alchemist. And then you just pop in. Full Metal Alchemist.
What was your joke about having that as like an alarm clock?
No, that you
Or no, as like a theme song.
Funny, but no, it was.
Or as a theme song.
Like, imagine if like when you fell asleep, like you would hear that voice in your head just going Full Metal Alchemist, and then after like sleeping for 8 hours or so, like you hear that right before you wake up, just Full Metal Alchemist.
That's what I hear in my brain every day and every night.
I think I don't know like what it is, but I think that the part of the like what's so funny about Full Metal Alchemist bumper is that it is just the words Full Metal Alchemist, but like the outro bumper. The outro bumper is like more optimistic about how Full Metal the Alchemist is. You know what I mean? Like someone made a meme like that where it's just like, it's just like what's his name? Edward, and he's like in like an adventurous pose, and it says Full Metal Alchemist, and then it's Edward, but he's doing like the Shinji like sitting down with his head in his hands in like a fold up chair, and it just says Full Metal Alchemist.
Wait, Shinji, who?
From Neon Evangelion. Whoa,
oh, Evangelion. Oh, Shinji Ikari, that guy. Yeah.
yeah, where it's just
yeah.
That's my cultural touchstone for a guy sitting in a fold up chair with his head in his hands, but. I'm sure there's like a...
You got your cultural... You're sure what?
I'm sure there's like another cultural touchstone for that, but... excuse me. Sure that's mine. Also,
yeah, you got
I
your
got
cultures. The flu. Oh. That's bad.
Just so... Luckily, this is an online kind of deal.
Yeah. We're on Discord.
But for those wondering why I'm coughing and why it sounds like my voice is slightly different, it's because I've been caught. I feel like I've had to like regrow part of my like neck, and it's slightly changed my voice.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh wait. Yeah, you were gonna hit the button, and I was gonna
say something. You were mentioning the cultural touchstone thing, and I was gonna make a joke about how there's also the cultural touchstone for guy in the chair being Spider-Man.
Well, my favorite thing about that is that like it's like an old trope, but I didn't have a word for it, and it's funny because
there's
like
never a name for it before.
Here's what's funny though. I'm like, oh, like what is it, like Wade from King Possible?
Yeah.
And then I realized that the character, what's his name, in Spider-Man would have been too young to have seen Kim Possible when it was on TV, so he wouldn't have that as his cultural touchstone for the guy in the chair.
Oh, dude, you're right.
And then it'd be like, what about like Oracle or Alfred, depending on what the era with Batman.
Yeah,
and,
it's not really Oracle as much these days since she got her walking back, which I have mixed feelings on, and they've only gotten more mixed since I've learned more about like the energy that surrounded the Killing Joke writing. Like I didn't realize that part of what into that was a dude literally saying the phrase "cripple the bridge," and like there was just a whole lot of indifference as to how they were. I don't know, man. My feelings about it are mixed because on one hand, it's like I liked her as Oracle. Her being in a wheelchair was neat because you don't really see a lot of those. Like
Well,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
you.
But
Oh,
but
sorry.
but then I feel like undoing that is sort of an apology to how like not greatly treated she was in that story, even if she had
Hmm.
become a cool Oracle character since then. So it's like
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know, man.
that
My feelings are
that's the
mixed on
thing
all of
that
that.
that's that's the thing that you brought up. You boot up the save here, and I'll mention it. That's something you brought up that like really like opened up my third eye. Was that it's like, oh well, it's what's the word? You can look at it from multiple perspectives, where it's like, oh well, uh, on one hand, you could very easily make a plot line where Oracle can walk again, whether it's through cybernetics or magic or timeline shenanigans. Um, but it erases one of the few uh, like characters with no legs,
Yeah,
or no non-working. But I don't know what the technical.
non-working
It,
legs.
I had a brain fart and I forgot the actual. I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize to the listeners.
I'd like to apologize to all the people out there that are in wheelchairs that are listening to us right now. I'd like to apologize to the doctors that work with those people. I'd like to apologize to my cat who's hanging out here. Wait, no, they're not. Where are my cats?
Like,
I have no cats around here.
but there was the first thing was like, oh well, it's like, yes, you could in quotations, like empower this character to move with legs, but then you were removing that like aspect of the character that there isn't a lot of characters with. But then there's
Yeah.
the other like counter argument that it is like in a cosmic sort of way unfair, because the reason that the character was paralyzed in the first place just felt like very just unfair. Like
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm not like hyper familiar with the storylines and with like how Oracle has been utilized like since then, but I can see the argument from multiple angles, and yeah, that is kind of like tricky, because yeah, it's cool to have a character who is like hyper competent and does cool stuff and is in a wheelchair, and it's
Yeah.
also and but like, and it's also cool for that. It would be very cool for that character to like put on some like Super Mario robot legs and go kick crime butt out of spite.
Yeah. I mean, in a world of cybernetics, like, you got Cyborg who is Cyborg, like, surely there's a way to make Batgirl walk again.
But yeah, I mean, between what is it, Cyborg,
Between
Blue Beetle, the
Cyborg
fact that they're
exists.
fully robotic characters.
Not to mention the fact that
Um,
characters come back to life on, like, a regular basis.
I do wonder. It would be really neat if if it was from the ground up. Like this is a bit of like a Thermian argument where it's like, oh, what if the character themselves like wanted to get new legs, um, which I could entertain that. But like if I was in that position, like on one hand it's like, yeah, no, I've had a crippling bodily injury, but like I don't let that like define me. That does mean that I'm not doing as many kicks, but I'm still like doing cool crime fighting stuff. But if I were in that position, I would still metaphorically jump at the chance to get some new legs.
Yeah, like,
I mean-
listen, man, I want to be a robot. Like, straight up, I got the Wilhelm brain from Borderlands 2. I want my brain in a robot body, and then I want my brain to have its data transferred to a robot brain, to have that put in my robot head so that I can continue to exist in a robotic form with all my collective memories
Oh, that's
and personality.
that's like double full conversion. That's deeper than I was expecting. I thought you meant like, oh yeah, you put your regular human brain in like a jar kind of thing, and that jar goes to the robot, It's like, oh no, you meant double chocolate chip.
Yeah, no, I
full
meant
conversion cyborg.
full on preservation. I mean, that's one thing that I didn't think about until much later in life. I can't remember what it was. Was it Detroit Become Human? No, I don't think it was. It was either some game or some anime that brought to my attention.
A game
I
that
think
made
it
you
was.
question,
It might have been
if it's a
Death
game that
Note.
made you,
I don't know.
if it's a game that made you like question like the concept of the self and uploading, it was probably Soma.
Oh, well, no, there's that. But no, this was much earlier than Soma. This was the first time it, like, was brought to my attention that, like, yes, you can put your brain in a robot body, but it never occurred to me that your actual brain, even in a robot body, still has an expiration date. Like, it's still a living organ that's going to run out of juice at some point. Oh, not as far as you, but probably far enough for whatever that conversation leads to.
And then I had that thought that only full conversion cyborgs and robo brains can have. Do I have an expiration date?
Do I have an expiration date? Yeah. So then I was like, okay, so just transfer your memory and personality onto like a cybernetic virtual machine or whatever, and then pop that into your head.
Here's my big brain pun incidental. Here's my big brain take though. Okay, here's the thing that is like the next layer down. Is that like there is the Soma principle where it's like, oh well, if I like there's technically like, oh, what if it's not like a transfer, and that it either involves like having to take apart the brain in a way that where you would effectively die, but like the new version of you is like a perfect copy of you, or the Soma situation. Or in the Soma situation where it's like, oh, you're making a copy of your brain. You don't actually like get to move your consciousness, whatever. But here's the thing. Here's the thing that's overlooked that I've been thinking that like I thought about back in like high school. I'm like, why can't you just trickle feed a consciousness into a new brain? Like your brain is already a freaking turducken of neurons with multiple hemispheres and lobes. So what if you continually just kept what if you somehow, I don't know what kind of like advanced like meditation consciousness whatever could do this like manually, but like if you add a cyborg part that is basically your backup brain and you slowly moved more and more of your consciousness onto it, then you wouldn't have to die to upload yourself in the same way that you don't like what's the word? In the same way that you don't die every time you like breathe in and breathe out.
Yeah.
Like you're moving new cells into your body, and you've probably replaced almost all of them within like 7 years or whatever. Like you get new skin every year.
Yeah,
when I say like that, where
yeah, when I say that I want my brain transferred, like, digitally into, like, a robotic replacement, I don't mean I want to copy my brain like some Soma bullshit. I mean, I want me in the machine. I don't want it to be a copy of me that will imitate me and pretend to be me to think as if it is me because it's a copy of me. No, I want it to be me. Me, my consciousness, original me, who I am. I want to be in that machine.
My robot body has a tattoo like just below the hairline on the neck that says "accept no substitutes."
Yeah, exactly.
Can I read this?
Yeah, you can read this.
Stambia 25th Police Department, Criminal Affairs.
No, Jesus Christ! Why are you so angry?
Come shoot, jump scare.
Come shoot, jump scare.
Editor, add in some air horns when he shows up, and then add some confetti, and then like children cheering.
Yeah, dude. When I actually get around to editing some stuff, I want to start doing like Pasaka jump scare or something, you know? Just take some absurd nightmare creature from Persona 5 Royal and just throw it on the screen for no reason.
I hope... here's the thing. I think For like posterity, I really hope that like that we get a technology that will do the text to speech or the speech to text, right?
Right.
But like, but specifically so we can scan through our videos and find when we say the word editor, because then we'll be
Yes!
able to scan through and know when to actually add the stuff, because that's like that will tag each
That would
gag
be
for us.
so convenient for us. That is literally the best piece of equipment that a Twitch streamer can have.
I literally had that World Doctors moment the other day where I got water on my keyboard, and it was messed up, and I kept trying to like dry it out and get it to work, and then I was like, oh wait a minute, and then my older brother was like, oh, you should update the drivers. That sometimes helps, and I'm like, oh, it sounds kind of weird because I figured it's hardware, not software. But I go and go to my downloads because I already updated my drivers really recently. I boot up the same exact drivers that the computer should be already using, install those, and my computer works fine.
Hmm.
So this, I had the actual World Doctors moment where it's just like, yeah, I communicated with the East African My Reader. They say our computer works fine. Just reinstall the driver. So if you're at home using a keyboard that you have to like copy and paste the letter like G because that letter doesn't work, reinstall the drivers. Just look up whatever computer or device that you're
I
using.
actually have been having a weird issue with my W key. Will just quit working for no reason, and I have to like wait for it to start working again. I wonder if
You have
that's
to
a
eight
driver
for it
issue.
to start working again.
Yeah, I have to 8 for it to start working again.
Luckily, it's one of the less common letters, but yeah,
Well,
yeah, it's straight up like,
unluckily, it's what I use for gaming. How the fuck am I supposed to move
uh,
forward?
you know how hard it is to play Pyro in TF2 if I can't press W?
Look, man, W constantly never stop. That's how you play Pyro. How am I supposed to play Pyro without a W
Um,
key?
seriously, I'll make a note of it. I'll send you a message so we don't forget after the stream.
Yeah,
Update drivers,
yeah.
and then you'll remember that you need to update your drivers, because I guess technology is a little more complex than I realized, and that sometimes when your hardware gets wet, it straight up just like can end up messing with the software itself, where it's like, oh, I told it to turn off the letter T. I thought that would be funny.
Yeah, my understanding of technology since I got like a full desktop computer that like Ofu helped me put together. When I say helped, I mean that he was on the phone with me in the Philippines telling me what parts to put where with a video camera.
And I was on the phone with Lujak, like a block over, defeating the former. Well,
Wait, defeating the former? Hold on, who's the former?
Control.
Oh, that motherfucker.
Proudest moment. We'll get
That.
back to that, but
We'll
first,
get back to that. We'll get back to that. Fuck. What was I talking
he was
about?
like, "What are you doing here?" Eek.
Fucking former ass bitch. Well, what's wrong, detective?
This wild lady comes in here just a while ago. Says she came to talk to y'all about hearing what Mr. Wright had to say.
Oh, hold on. I was in the middle of a sentence. I was saying that ever since I got a desktop, like a full-on desktop, that I got to like put together on the insides with proper guidance from another country. My view on technology has shifted to a point where I'm aware of just like how much more shit goes into this and how much I still don't understand it. Like, I don't think I could
Oh yeah.
take apart and put my PC back together on my own right now if I didn't have Ofu to re-walk me through the process again, because I've only done it once and my powers of retentions are shit.
On a, I would say on a sliding scale, I feel like that's one of the things that I would have to have a particularly lucid day where if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, I have no idea. This could never fit together. But
Yeah.
if I'm particularly sharp that day, I'd be like, oh, wait a minute, I figured it out. All of the things that could be plugged in should be plugged into the whole parts that also that they can be plugged into.
Yeah.
And that technically mostly works. Or it's like, all right, the graphics card plugs into the motherboard, and this motherboard has a power slot, and that has to be plugged in, but not right now because we're putting it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do that real gamer move where when I move my PlayStation to like another house or back home, I plug in the power first and boot it up, and then plug in the HDMI. That way, while it's booting up, that way it has the power first while I'm plugging in the HDMI cable.
Makes sense.
Oh, no, I read that.
Oh, alright.
Right, I had to say.
Bro, we're already lawyering him. Chill the fuck out, Jesus.
What's this all about, pal? That's the American version of what's all this then?
Lot of heart.
Are you going around finding more witnesses? Is that a problem? You didn't tell us stuff.
Do you
like she wanted to? Oh,
am I not supposed to?
Oh, that's why. You want to give Mr. Edgeworth the death sentence, pal? Look, I think the truth will win out. So, like, if we do have witnesses that can say if Gordy popped up out of the water and a guy missed his shot, and then Gordy knocked one guy off the boat, or whatever it is that I said in the last episode.
Dude, okay, listen.
You remember that, right?
Hold on, repeat it.
I had this, like, elaborate scheme on how, like, neither of my elaborate scheme was like, it involves a theory where Gordy is implicated. Gordy, the lake monster, is implicated in the murder, but also neither of the men on the boat are the victim. Or neither of them are Miles Edgeworth, where it's the victim who is presumably not dead, and another guy who was who was eaten by Gordy. And the reason why we didn't find, we don't have like the pistol or any of their like Gordy picture taking equipment is that they fell off the boat. And that Miles Edgeworth was also invited, but showed up fashionably late, which is why he was seen exiting the scene.
Because, obviously. What if Gordy gets called to the stand? And is questioned for murder?
I'm just imagining one of those... Well, now I'm imagining, like, this is what I love about, like, meta-human law, is I love the concept of, like, of moments like that where it's like, we have to call a creature to the stand who physically cannot fit in the courtroom. This is unprecedented, but I guess it was bound to happen, so we do have to, like, sell up they use, like, one of those, like, iPad things, and they have to do, like, a Skype call, you know?
I imagine that, like, a future full of meta-humans like that would eventually evolve to a point where buildings and, like, everyday stuff is just designed to... just starts getting designed to accommodate all that, you know? Like, most buildings will just be fucking huge for people who are fucking huge, but, you know, they'll have, like, normal-sized doors for, like, normal-sized people that can just walk through.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like there's a limit. Don't take this out of context, but there's in a world with metahumans, there is a limit to accommodations when it comes to, like, size or density or how hot or cold they need to be. And so, like, you would have these unusual circumstances where it's like, oh yeah, well, our courtroom has, like, really big doors in case you were, like, 11 feet tall, but unfortunately, I don't know, Fin Fang Foom, the dragon, was implicated in this crime, and we need to call them to the, or not implicated, they're like they were a key witness, and we physically they can't get into the courtroom.
They
They
cannot
are.
physically fit.
They,
No, I'm
it's
talking
like,
about
oh, yeah,
like I'm talking about
they've
like a
agreed to take
far
the
off
stand, but are physically
future.
unable to.
I'm talking about like a far off future of metahumans where it's like I don't know 7 or 8 generations into all this and they've like figured it out already. Like
Oh
in a
yeah, well,
society that has
yeah,
figured out how to accommodate metahumans as opposed to
it's
one
just
that's like still figuring it out.
it's just the Richards family inventing like modular courtrooms or whatever, where it's
It's
like,
just
oh yeah,
Franklin and what's her face. Wait, what's the girl's name? How come I can't remember the girl's name?
I don't actually know. I only know Franklin Richards, and only like a little bit.
Why do both of us only know Franklin Richards and not the girl?
Because he's the one. Because I didn't. Probably because like Franklin Richards is the one who like accidentally creates like a galaxy in his hand.
Probably because Franklin Richards is the one who's just like omnipotent for no reason. Like, where did his power come from?
Well, he's the son of 2 metahumans, but like that still doesn't quite answer it.
That doesn't-
I like to imagine that it's just the raw amount of shenanigans that happens when, like, if your parents are metahumans that are already very different, and ill-defined, that there's just a chance that it's like, oh yeah, we have a gifted child. He's literally the most gifted any child can be, because we don't know it's really hard getting him. He's homeschooled only because we haven't figured out a curriculum that would be appropriate to such a super able child.
Figured out like what grade level he should be in. Like
he keeps like he every time he gets a question that stumps him, he just like calls forth a version of him from like the future that already knows it. Like it.
Wait a minute. If every version of you in this timeline is just calling forth a future version of you who knows the answer, then how do you find it out originally if your only way of finding it out throughout the timeline is being told it by yourself without having properly learned it without being told?
You know how like Reed Richards has like a council of reeds that is sometimes called the Sea of Reeds, which is kind of beautiful. I'm just like Franklin Richards is like, yeah, I have a whole bunch of myself in a council. It's called the Frank Bank, and he's like, don't call it that.
Anyway,
it's like a bank of a river, but it's also like a building that looks like a bank. Oh, that's kind of poetic, but.
That's kind of poetic.
Where you store hot dogs.
What about hot dogs?
That sounds like a place you can securely store hot dogs.
Well, yeah, but you know, you gotta get the right ingredients to make the perfect hot dog, and to do that, you need to get one of those fucking succulators to suck up all the cactus fruits and shit. Come on!
What?
How do you played this mission with me? You played the game with me. You should the big suck. The big suck. It was Borderlands 3.
Okay, yeah.
You have to for the skag dogs. You have to get the vacuum gun to suck up the cactus.
Yeah, I kind of forgot there was a mission where you vacuum up cactus or succulents.
Succulents, yeah.
Despite the name, they're not as. Despite the name, I don't think they're that tasty.
No, they don't look like they'd be that good.
All right, your line.
No, right, my line. No, not at all. I've never tasted a skag in my life. That would never even try it. Just, I mean, that she did see something.
Yeah, there's.
What?
I'm still reeling from the various gags you can build off of with just Reed and Sue like explaining to like a child psychologist like their issues with raising Franklin, because everything he does just sounds immediately made up. It's like because he's just too powerful, so it's just like, oh yeah, sometimes he just like he just peers into an alternate reality where he knows the answer to a question, or he'll just like he'll just call forth a version of himself from the future where someone else told him the answer. And it's just like, man, but you have to be able to learn things for yourself. Like, you're omnipotent, but you're not omniscient, and you can't really gain that if you don't have a sense of curiosity.
Yeah, man, trying to therapy Franklin Richards would be like I want that to be like a show, you know?
I feel like
I want there to
that's the
be
kind
like
of
a
story.
Raising Franklin show.
That's the kind of young Franklin,
Yeah.
young.
Young Franklin.
I realized that I would have to have a different accent than my parents because of how smart I was going to be.
Turns into Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory.
I mean that is a perfect reference, but apparently, like, in I saw this because my mom was watching Young Sheldon. Like the reason his like parents have like Southern accents, and so the reason why he has a deliberately different accent isn't because like he's super smart or something. It's because he was aware of the accent and then went, nah, if I'm gonna win a Nobel Prize, I can't have a Southern accent. And then and being Sheldon, he committed to that bit, like, through his lifetime.
That's pretty great. I mean, she did see something. She did see something. There's nothing I can do about that. I can't go around covering up evidence.
You trying to say something about the way I do my job?
No, sir!
Am I inferring what I'm thinking you're implying?
You inferring what I think you're inferring? That scene in Bleach where Uri is picking a lock and it's like, yeah, Dad, why do you know how to pick locks, Uri? I don't like what you're implying.
I think I remember that.
I can't remember if that was a line in the anime or if that was a bit you came up with for the anime, or if it was half and half.
That sounds like something that like I would have told a joke about, like,
yeah.
back in high school.
Yeah, I think yeah.
I don't like what you're playing.
Yeah, I don't like what you're implying. Well, I don't like what you're doing. Yeah, it was something like that.
Just imagining like now I'm just imagining like a gag where it's a character, one of the characters from Bleach, and they're doing the lockpicking lawyer or whatever thing where I forget which account it was, where they're like, this is a Mark 1300 master lock, can be opened with a Mark 13 master lock, and it just shows them bashing the lock with another lock and it just immediately opens. I didn't realize that was such a common problem, or at least with certain locks, that it's like, oh, these locks are look like really sturdy. They're made with hardened steel. They're supposed to be hard to cut through, but their mechanisms are just too rudimentary, and so not only can they be picked, but also in some circumstances you can like turn them upside down and hit them really hard, or hit them really hard when they're facing the right direction, and they'll just open. And I'm like, that's no good. That should not be that should be against like some kind of standard.
Yeah, that should not be allowed to be marketable.
Oh, sorry.
So, what did Miss Hart say?
She says she saw Mr. Edgeworth fire the pistol. What? Even had a photograph to prove it.
Right, I saw it too.
Not pretty blurry though.
Yeah, very shadowy. But you really can't tell from the photo who it is shooting.
That's why she said she's gonna enlarge the photo. Reminds me when I was a kid, my mom was talking about processing digital photos. She said, going to the zoo so we can shoot the animals, and we'll go home and blow them up.
What? No. What?
It's the thing.
I mean, yes, those are the correct words, but no, you can't say it like that. You can't just say those things like that.
Yeah. It was before 2001. It was a different time.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Oh, he said, it'll drop the quality of my. I'm trying to do his accent, imitating her accent. He said it'll drop the quality of my, but should let us see who's who. You can do that?
What kind of CSI bullshit? Okay, so zoom, enhance. Okay, so there's going to be an enlarged photograph that shows Edgeworth in the act. Great. Just great.
In any case, he's gonna be the one testifying tomorrow. Huh? What happened to the other witness? Oh. Apparently there was a cancellation.
A cancellation. Tomorrow's trial.
Afraid tomorrow is gonna be life or death for poor Mr. Edgeworth. Unless it's not, and then I think the next day, I forget what day we're on.
Unless it's another one of those trials that goes on for several days.
But a maximum of 3 days, as is standard.
As is standard, that's... You only have 3 days to figure out what's going on with the Phantom Thieves, man. You don't have time to be talking about how you started dating her weird sister.
Wait, hold on. Is that the real reason why why Lysai is so surprised at the reveal of like characters that if you were personally telling the story you probably would have mentioned earlier? It's just that like they're revealed in chronological order, but also you skipped over a lot of the Makoto bits just because it wasn't relevant until that point in the story.
Well, I imagine that canonically he's trying his best to not actually confirm who the names of any of his teammates. So I imagine when he's telling all the parts with Makoto, he's like, oh yeah, your sister started stalking us around for a bit, then she tried to blackmail us. Anyway, we went into the palace and by that time we'd recruited another member of our party.
Just so many like I don't know. The longer the game goes on, the funnier like the flash forwards are. Not only because like, oh, you've been dating Makoto for like 3 months or whatever, but it's even funnier because like it feels like you'd be revealing like you were like telling the plot of like a multi-season TV show at that point. You know, you're like explaining what happened on The Sopranos, or I've never seen The Sopranos, but I don't know. I thought that was a good example.
Right. Man, it's funny. I kinda already had settled on romancing An in my first playthrough and Makoto in my second one. But even if I were planning to romance Makoto the first time, I'm not sure if I would have even done that simply because An is like the first person that became dateable for me because she's been there the longest and she's the one that I've been hanging out with.
Questionable. Oh,
What's that?
Just remembering that gag from Gravity Falls, where it's like, you got the super 15-question dating quiz. You got a 8 out of 10. Dateable. Dipper, you got a yeesh. You know, let's just focus on you being you. Questionable. Seuss, you got a and Seuss, you got a 13 out of 10. My grandma was right. I'm the world's most perfect man. Total hawk.
I don't remember that bit, but it sounds exactly like something that would happen in Gravity Falls.
But then like people have taken that audio and then put their own like characters in it, where it's just, you know, dateable, questionable, total hunk.
That's awesome.
What's funny is when it's the same fandom, but it's a very different interpretation of like who they think is dateable, questionable, and
yeah.
anyway, We got a witness who says she saw the very moment of the murder. We got a photo taken when the shot rang out.
I'd say that sounds like a pretty unwinnable case. But wait, there's more! What did Mia used to say? If he's innocent, there's sorry about that. If he's innocent, there's gotta be something I've overlooked. Edgeworth.
Sounds like Mr. Edgeworth is gonna ask the state to assign a public defender. See, that's what I was wondering.
So they do have public defenders.
They do. They do have public defense. Man, he could have said that a lot earlier. I mean, I assumed. Excuse me. I was just asked to file the paperwork. You still got time, pal. We're working on Fey rules, so, you know, we got until clock strikes midnight or something.
Yeah. Oh, did you read that already?
Oh, well, talk to him again. Please. You have to convince him. You have to make him let you defend him. Please. I know you're the only one who can do it, pal. You're the only one who can save Mr. Edgeworth.
I'm sure you're really looking into the camera right now being like, you're the main character, pal, you have to do the thing.
You gotta do the thing.
Alright. Where the fuck is... where is he at? I'm supposed to go talk to fucking Edgeworth.
Just walk into this guy's office, walk out.
Yeah, hey, what's up? What's up, dude? Okay, bye. He said to go talk to Edgeworth, right? But where is Edgeworth? Well, the defender, go talk to him again. You have to come.
Well, in that case, we're going to the, well, sorry, I wasn't paying enough attention. Lujack, we'd be going to the, the little jail cell thing, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't anyone there. There's no one here at the jail place.
Editor, put in the clip of Zatch from Zatch Bell in the video game going, huh, there's no one here.
Dude! That feels like a deep cut.
It is, because here's the thing, I didn't even play that game. I think it was my little brother who played it.
I did play it. I fucking loved it.
I watched it over his shoulder a bit, and I was like, oh, okay, so like you go around and you like do quests and stuff, and I vaguely remember bits of it. But the thing that I remember the most is that like it had like, this was like non-linear worlds before non-linear worlds were like a thing, and so you could do the Phoenix Wright thing where it could be like, okay, we're gonna go to the detention center, we're gonna go to the park. Like you could backtrack a lot, but there were audio cues, so you could go to a place where nothing was happening, and Zatch would just be like, huh, there's no one here.
There's no one here.
I remember that like messing with me on like a primal level where I'm like, you know, in a game that doesn't have voice acting, like you go somewhere and then it's like empty and you're like, oh, I made a mistake. But like if a character like says, oh, there's no one here, like it feels like it's canon that you're just wandering into empty places all the time.
Yeah.
Like thanks, Zatch. Thank you for reminding me that despite you looking like the marionette puppet, it is I who is the dummy.
Dude, I'm so glad that you were able to reference that, because Zatch Bell is one of those games that I played repetitively as a kid and beat several times. Like,
really?
I fucking love that game. I played so much of that game as a kid, like, non-stop. It was one of those repeat games.
One day we will find out what the heck the Zatch Bell is.
Yeah, man, I never finished the anime, but I kind of want to because as weird as it looks, it was, I remember it being pretty okay. I remember enjoying the story.
There's gotta be someone out there who would like, did like a 1.5 hour plus, like YouTube video on all of Zatch Bell, right?
Oh yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure I've already seen one. Like, I feel like I had to have at some point. Hey, I think we already got Edgeworth's request, so I'm gonna show this to the detective guy. Look what I got.
Yeah, I just experiencing non-linear storytelling because I forgot that last week he told us,
Yeah.
or not last week, the week before last week, that he's like, actually, I would like you to represent.
I was also confused because I remembered already being able to represent him last time we played, so when it was like, you gotta go talk to him and convince him, I was like, didn't we already do this? And then I went to look for him, and then I went in the evidence and saw his request and was like, oh yeah, we did already do this. Here you go.
They must have amnesia. They forgot that I'm him. Man, I like Dracula flow, but the thing I really like is making my own Dracula flows.
Yeah.
Hey, you did it, pal. Glad I waited till last minute to file those papers. I'll rip them up and start new ones for you.
Woo! Thanks, detective. Well, see you in court tomorrow, then.
I'll see you in court. Good luck, pal.
Thanks, pal.
Hey, why is he? Yeah, the sprite made it seem like he was surprised by himself.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about the earthquake. Maybe the earthquake was Gordy, like, messing with an underwater cave or something.
It was Gordy coming up to pass judgment on... Hold on! What's that?
It's Gordy emerging to pass judgment upon the wicked.
Upon the wicked. Gordy emerging to pass judgment upon the wicked. Hold on, dude, do you think Loch Ness Monster exists as a persona or a demon in any of the Persona or SMT games? Like,
I would hope so.
How would they
I really
not?
want them to redesign Mothman, though, because the Persona Mothman, everyone, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, pause and look up the Persona Mothman, because, like...
It really just looks like a weird moth thing.
It just looks like a funny bug.
It just looks like a moth.
He's more moth than man, but also, like, he doesn't have, like, the humanoid features. He's just, like, a weird cartoon bug. And I'm like, guys, come on. Let Mothman be cool, spooky, and just a little bit caked up.
Also, why does Cerberus only have one head and his brother, I think, Orthros, have two heads?
Has two heads.
What?
That is,
You gave Orthros two heads, but you gave Cerberus one head? Cerberus? You know, Cerberus, three-headed dog Cerberus with three heads, specifically known for having 3 heads, Cerberus dog with 3 heads? You gonna not give him 3 heads?
That is odd.
Why does he only have 1 head? That's not a Cerberus. Anyway.
I say we do, like, one more scene and then we wrap this up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you read that already.
I was worried. Worried? I'm fine. I lived out here. I lived out here my whole life. I'm pretty used to them now. The earthquakes.
I remember this. He was worried specifically about Edgeworth, I bet, huh?
Right, because he freaked out when there was the earthquake.
Edgeworth didn't do well with the earthquake.
The fact that the earthquake's happening now, though, is like this weird sort of synchronization where, oh, maybe it is like this cycle
Yeah.
that Gordy follows.
Yeah, Gordy's literally just following these people around and cursing them. Haunting them. Bruh?
Excuse me. Oh, I wasn't worried about you two. Worried about Mr. Edgeworth. He's
Yeah.
doing some dying light parkour on the roof, and I feel like he's gonna wiggle wobble himself into a broken neck.
You see, he got really into Dying Light, which got him like way into parkour, but like in a weird, obsessive way. And he's always on rooftops. And I keep telling him, an earthquake's gonna hit when you're parkouring, and you're just gonna like slam your head against some concrete and die.
Here's the thing, though. He doesn't have like a cool parkour outfit. It's the same exact outfit, except now instead of like leather Oxfords, he has like pumped up kicks. He's got like some like lightweight running shoes. Everything else is the same.
Man, I don't know about you, but I'm rocking the ninja outfit every time I play Dying Light.
I really wanted that to be a thing for Dying Light 2, where it's like, oh hey, you played Dying Light 1, cool. Here's like a what's the word? Here's like a black business suit, so you can pretend to be like Agent 47. But nah, and I'm like, please.
No, why would we do that? Oh, right. He did seem to overreact a little now that you mention it.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. It was a pretty big quake. Oh, that's the cultural difference, though, is that like as Maya mentioned, that like they do get earthquakes somewhat regularly.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna go check on him. You two go eat and give you rest for tomorrow's trial. I have an extra compartment for tomorrow's trial.
I have an extra pocket for tomorrow's trial.
Later.
Later.
Wonder what it is with Mr. Edgeworth and earthquakes. Maybe he got into a big fight with the ground.
I don't know, man. Some people just got motion sickness. Every time I'm on an elevator, I like glue myself to the corner and hold on for dear life because I hate elevators.
Oh.
Weirdly enough, I have that problem with elevators, but I like rides like the Tilt-A-Whirl at the carnival, which I also haven't been on in years.
Well, that's weird though, because earthquakes wiggle back and forth. They don't like, and not like a whole lot either.
Oh, so would it not be a motion sickness thing then?
Well, I don't. I definitely think it's not a motion sickness thing. That it's some sort of traumatic experience that like happened during an earthquake or as the result of an earthquake. Maybe he was off his anxiety meds and he watched like the movie 2012 and he just doesn't like earthquakes.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I wonder. He was never that scared of them when he was in school. Then again, I only really got to know him in 4th grade. He transferred to another school after that. I wonder what happened to Edgeworth. I really want, like, just a sort of road trip with Phoenix, Larry, and Miles specifically,
Yeah, but the twist is that they're not like 2D sprites. They're all like 3D, but they're using like a shading system that allows them to still have the outlines and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Hey, speaking of which, what was it? So if I recall correctly, like there's like 15 Final Fantasies, and like the 14th one is the MMO, which I know it's real, but it still doesn't quite feel real. But then the 15th one feels even less real because I've seen clips of it. I know people who've played it, but it feels like something you would have a dream about, where you're like, oh, I had this dream that there was a Final Fantasy game, and it had a lot of the mechanics, and it was but it was like real time tactical battles where you do dodges and have different moves and stuff. But like the main like through line of the story was that you were like just you and your bros on a road trip, and you had like this big car, and you drive around with your bros.
I actually had that one and I played a bit of it, but I haven't finished it, and it's one that I need to get back to.
Really, like I've seen bits of it.
And yeah,
I'm
the
like
car
this
trip
can't
stuff is
be
really
real.
fun. One of the most enjoyable parts of the game really is just driving around in your car and talking to your bros.
I heard in an early version of that game that their grandpa would come with them and tell them about Eastern Europe,
Oh
but
yeah, but then they
they
removed
patched
them.
him out and they never added him back in.
Yeah, well, the guy that was responsible for patching in the grandpa was like they quit
They
or
moved
were
on
fired
to
or
make
something. Yeah, they
landlord
moved
super.
on. What's that?
He moved on to make landlord super.
Yeah, I moved on to do
Uh,
bigger things, bigger and badder things.
oh
Badder
my
as in
god.
gooder.
Oh man. I'm so glad I got to do that gag again. It's
You
the
know,
recurring gag of every version, every video game had an earlier version that had the grandpa from Jalopy, who has since been removed from all video games. It's just in every video game,
well,
like
you
that was an
see,
alpha.
well, you see, it becomes such a trope to have like a grandpa character that it became like an Uncle Ben situation where people got so bored with it that they just stopped doing it. They decided they weren't going to have that anymore, and now we're in this
Everyone
weird
wanted.
anti-grandpa era where people just no one wants to talk about Uncle Ben anymore. Like,
We had different we had different ideas. I was gonna go with that. That the grandpa from the Jalopy was like this Jungian archetype that was just in all games, but then somebody used one of those like time altering wishes to remove him from every game, including Jalopy. Jalopy's the only one that everyone remembers him in.
that sounds much closer to a World Doctor's gag than what I was doing.
World Doctors. Our copy of July. Oh, right. I just got off the phone with the East African mind reader. It turns out our copy of Jalopy is fine. By the way, speaking of, oh yeah, speaking of games where you drive around and to pick up stuff, Pacific Drive, the game that I don't know the precise premise, only that you are driving around, the country in a what's it called? The type of station wagon. I was gonna say, what's the type of car they don't make? They don't really make anymore. It's got the wood panels sometimes. Station wagon. You're driving around, like America question mark in a station wagon, but like there are these like exclusion zones where like anomalies are just happening, and I'm
Right.
like, oh, that's cool. That's cool and mysterious, and it scratches that itch that Jalopy didn't quite fill because they never finished it.
Right, right. Alright, that's gonna be it for us, guys. Thank you so much for watching our stream. I'm reminding you to go play Persona 5 Royal and also play Pal World, because they're amazing
Oh,
games.
so for me, I have to go. After this, I should be playing some Persona 5 to catch up with Lujack.
Yeah, I'm already in the Okumura Palace, man. Like, you gotta catch up. I'm blazing ahead of
Lujack's
you.
over here. He's going to be playing like a whole different. I was going to say a whole different franchise. No, Lujack's over here. Like he's in like the end game. It's All the it's like that epilogue in Harry Potter that was kind of awkward. Like all the characters are aged up, and they all have like kids.
Yeah. I like.
I there is something funny in retrospect. There is something like really funny about the epilogue for Harry Potter because like imagine like the author was like, oh, I want everyone to feel satisfied at this ending, so I need to show that like everyone who's alive, you know, they're fine and they're okay. But then people see the actual epilogue and they're like, oh, this was open ended, but now like you're telling us how these characters ended and how these characters ended where they all became kind of like boring conservatives who
Yeah.
all all paired off and got regular government jobs.
Harry Potter is one of the funniest franchises to me because it's not
Like
even
on
some
accident.
not an accident because it's not something that I fell off of because of the kind of bitch J.K. Rowling turned out to be. It's something that I just kind of fell off of naturally over the years because I kept getting less and less interested in each new installment to the point where I was really only continuing to watch it because I felt like I needed to finish the story. But like I had already stopped caring so much that like to this day I have no idea what happens in the last two movies because the one time that I was going over to a friend who was marathoning the movies, I was late for like each movie because getting out of the house sucks and motivation is a bitch. So by the time I would get there, I would have missed like all of the beginning stuff, which for the first few movies was fine. But then for the last few movies, I didn't know what was going on because I'd never seen any of the beginning stuff, and so I just didn't really pay attention to it because if I don't see the beginning, then I don't care what else happens. And then J.K. Rowling turned out to be a transphobic piece of shit, and now I'm like, wow, I didn't like. I already thought this stuff was bad. Now I just hate the person who made it.
I I think one of my favorite I think one of my favorite sort of like summaries of Harry Potter, like now it's like the Wizarding World franchise. I don't know who said this or if I just kind of mashed some ideas together and sort of made something myself, but it's something along the lines of like there's something very funny about how Harry Potter is because of how it changed over time and then stopped and then had a stage play and then had a more movies. Like it's the only franchise that, despite being ostensibly like made and written by a single person, somehow is like fan fiction of itself. Where like
Yeah.
it will have concepts in earlier books that are forgotten in later books, and sort of like warped over time, and so like even the raw concepts. One of the like main premises of Fantastic Beasts was that there was like I forget what the term was, but like people who have magic powers but are trying to hide them. If they're not like found and allowed to do magic, then they turn into an NVIDIA graphics card test.
Yeah.
My favorite description of like, yes, you turn into the lost cloud monster. But like, and that as a premise, I'm like, oh, that would be a really cool premise if your series before this in the same universe with the same lore wasn't based on a kid who did not had magic powers and that were latent magic powers that weren't like fostered until he was like middle school age and he didn't explode.
Yeah, for some reason. How the hell does that work?
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's like, anywho, we got a little distracted.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm coughing so much, and also yeah, Phoenix Wright. It's been a fun game, and I hope we get to play more of it, even if I'm a little sleepy and a little grumpy. I like this game, and
Yeah, it's a good
I like
game.
streaming it with you.
And I like streaming it with you. It's very fun.
And I love you, random citizen.
And I love you, random citizen. And I'm reminding you that Harry Potter sucks and you shouldn't be giving J.K. Rowling money.
Or as they do in the outro for the Shrieking Shack. And I'm reminding you, please read another book.
Read another book. Any
another
book.
book.
I don't even read books, but please read another book.
I'm sorry I don't have more book recommendations. Bye!
Bye! Wait, fuck, where's Zombie at? There's Zombie House. Bye!